I'm going to call this meeting to order. Good evening, everyone. Start the meeting off with a little note. I don't know if you've noticed driving around town, but it's that time of year where the political signs are blooming. I would like to welcome our new Assistant City Manager, Luis Garibay, and invite him to come up to the front and lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Just on your first night. And thank you. Are there any items on forward or agenda review?
Mr. Mayor.
No? Okay.
Roll call.
Roll call, please.
Councilmember Litzter.
Here.
Councilmember Kavanaugh.
Here.
Councilmember Judge. Mayor Pro Tem Rhodes.
Here.
Mayor Thomas.
Here.
Mr. Mayor, I move that all resolutions and ordinances presented tonight be read in title only and all further reading be waived.
Second.
Call for a vote.
The motion passes unanimously.
There we go. If any member of the city council may have a conflict of interest or any reason why that matter must abstain from consideration of any matter on this agenda, he or she should declare so at this time. Seeing none.
Mr. Mayor and members of the City Council, the first item on the agenda is item 1D1, presentation of a proclamation declaring September 15th through October 15th, 2024 as Hispanic Heritage Month, and Assistant to the City Manager, Angel Sierra, is here to present the proclamation. And accepting the proclamation are Gina Troncalli, President of the Cultural Arts Center Foundation, and Ana Rosa Estevez and Salwa Scarpone, Cultural Arts Center Foundation board members.
Good evening, Mayor Thomas and members of the City Council. It is with great pleasure that I read this proclamation. Whereas Hispanic Heritage Month is a time to celebrate the rich cultural heritage and significant contributions of Hispanic and Latino communities throughout the United States and their profound and positive influence on Simi Valley. And whereas Hispanic Heritage Month began in 1968 when President Lyndon Johnson proclaimed Hispanic Heritage Week and expanded 20 years later by President Ronald Reagan to encompass a month-long celebration in 1988. And whereas the City of Simi Valley proudly joins in this annual celebration to honor the diverse traditions, history, and achievements of Simi Valley residents from Hispanic and Latino backgrounds who have profoundly shaped our society and contributed to the varied cultural landscape of our community. And whereas this year's theme, Pioneers of Change, Shaping the Future Together, highlights the remarkable ways in which Hispanic and Latino leaders have pioneered advancements and change in the areas of civil rights, education, arts, science, business, and public service, inspiring future generations to continue their legacy of innovation and leadership. And whereas we recognize the importance of acknowledging the diversity of the Hispanic and Latino community, spanning a multitude of countries, languages, and cultures, which have influenced Simi Valley by enriching and shaping the community with traditions that reflect multi-ethnic and multicultural customs and celebrations that are interwoven into the fabric of our city. And whereas Hispanic Heritage Month is a call to action to reaffirm our commitment to fostering inclusivity, promoting equality, and acknowledging the contributions of Hispanic and Latino individuals that have promoted the growth, prosperity, and diversity of our community. Now, therefore, the City of Simi Valley does hereby proclaim September 15th through October 15th as Hispanic Heritage Month in the City of Simi Valley to celebrate the generations of Hispanic and Latino Americans who have enriched our community, recognize their contributions, and reaffirm our commitment to a strong and inclusive community that recognizes and celebrates all cultures and people and the values of dignity and respect presented this 23rd day of September 2024.
Thank you. So congratulations on that. I understand there's a special program happening at the Cultural Arts Center. Would you like to talk about that?
I'd love to. So the reason we requested that the city issue this proclamation today is because the Simi Valley Cultural Arts Center Foundation, in partnership with the Simi Valley Cultural Arts Center, is celebrating Hispanic Heritage Month with a festival this Saturday, September 28th, from 10 to 4 at the Cultural Arts Center. And we are going to be having entertainment, things like ballet folklorico and mariachi and Peruvian dance groups. We're going to be having an Latino art exhibit in the Gary Thomas Gallery on the main stage floor. We're going to be having arts and crafts vendors and food vendors. We're celebrating Hispanic Heritage Month, and we would love you all to come out this Saturday and celebrate with us. Thank you. From 10 to 4. Yes, thank you.
Sounds like fun. All right, thank you, guys.
See you there. We hope to see you there. Yes. Okay, thank you so much.
Take care.
Thank you very much. Mr. Mayor and members of the City Council, next on the agenda is item 4, public statements. Since there are no public hearings under agenda item 5 this evening, items 4 and 6 are combined, and the council will hear all public statements under this agenda item 4. Agenda items 4 and 6 are the times allotted for public statements on all items other than public hearings, appointments, and informational reports. Speakers will be called on in the order in which their card was submitted to speak for this public statement, item 4, for no more than 3 minutes each. Persons addressing the City Council are requested to state their name and community of residence for the record. Mr. Mayor, unless you have any comments, we can begin public statements.
Please proceed.
The first speaker, Michael Shaw.
Howdy. Hey. Council, Mayor, thank you for letting me speak. I promise I'm going to be brief. But first I want to once upon a time when I was a young guy, before I started business here in Simi, I worked like Glenn Becerra did for the MTA. I had a vetted position that it was approved by the board, and I was in charge of all of the elevators and escalators at that MTA. And I had a huge budget. And what I learned to do is read and write a budget. Okay, so that being said, talked about the budgets. Oh, and I'm not going to pick on you, but you were the only one kind enough to talk to me last time. But I was trying to bring up something simple and softball about the curbs and the gutters, because it is a serious issue, especially if we're going to have some empathy for the people that fall and get hurt. And when we do our grinding and then it grows up big, it even makes us more, you got a lawyer to tell you, so anyways. We talked about the trip and falls, and you said, just call and report it. I said, really? Okay, so when you come up with the budget, you have to collect data, you have to analyze the data, and then you come up with your budget. So I went on a little data collection in one neighborhood, the Texas tract, where my daughter lives. I saw 78 trip and fall hazards with dozens of trees, but I didn't count the trees because I didn't want to get to the root cause. Come on. It's a pun, an e-slapper. Come on, you guys. So, no offense, but I see a disconnect between what I read here, what I see out in the field, and what I'm told, just go ahead and report it. It's a bigger problem than that, and we don't have enough time to talk about it in depth, not in this venue. But what I really wanted to talk about is I tried to take a buddy of mine in his wheelchair, and Mike and I talked about this, on the north side of LA Avenue from Erringer to First Street. And I dropped him 3 times. It was just in horrible shape. I took pictures right in, I think it's Sioux Law, and I'm like, hey, they're gonna sue us. So we're smart. I came back on the south side, and it was even worse. So it's an ADA nightmare, and I'm asking you guys, okay, maybe there's a plan to address all the curbs and sidewalks and aprons along that stretch. If so, please tell me about it. If not, how long would it take us to come up with a plan to address an ADA lawsuit waiting to happen? And then 2, maybe there is something about the trees that I don't see and hear, and I don't have to worry about it. But thanks for listening to me. And you guys don't even have to reply tonight. We can talk about it another time. I know it's a lot to just drop and ask for a reply. So that was it. Thanks. I'm done.
Joel Harriet.
Good evening, council members and mayor. My name is Joel Harriet. I'm a recycling education representative for the city of Simi Valley for waste management, obviously. Real quick, myself and team members, we go to all the street fairs. We'll be there October 26th, distributing kitchen food waste pails to all the residents in Simi Valley. Come by and see the truck. Meet one of our recycling outreach representatives that will be there. Also with Halloween just around the corner, remember to drop your pumpkins in your organics green waste cart at home. And we look forward to seeing you out in the community. And thank you. Have a wonderful evening.
Mark Luker.
Hello, everybody. Earlier this year, when I was serving my second term on neighborhood council here in Simi Valley, we had a police officer come out and talk to us about vehicle versus pedestrian safety. We talked about how sometimes the sun is just brutal and the pedestrian's always gonna lose, to be extra careful. We talked about when there's no bike lane and stuff. And then it kind of morphed into another kind of pedestrian safety, which in my opinion, it just seems to be getting worse. We have regular bicycles, electric bicycles, these little motorcycles, really. We have skateboards with one giant wheel, and they're all driving on the sidewalk. Now, at the time when I brought this up, the police officer said, well, when we see that, we pull them over and give them a warning, or we give them a ticket. Now, not a day goes by, because I walk my dog every day, where I don't have to get off the sidewalk because one of these is coming up. And I have never once seen a police officer stop one of these bicycle electric motorcycles on the side of the street. Now, I just saw on the news yesterday that an elderly lady was hit and killed by one of these electric scooters. It wasn't here in Simi Valley, but we certainly don't want that to happen in Simi Valley. So I just think we need to be a little bit more aware of these types of vehicles on the sidewalks. And maybe they can be pulled over a little more and given a warning. That's all I got.
Jeannie Mortensen.
My name is Jeannie Mortensen, and I was appointed to read the following statement of concern from the Simi Valley Council on Aging. It was approved at our executive board meeting on September 9th, 2024. You should have already received a copy, as it was submitted to staff 2 weeks ago. I have copies if you didn't see a copy. I'm reading it now to enter it into the public record. I ask for your indulgence because it takes 4 minutes to read it. Statement of concern regarding cuts in service levels to the Meals on Wheels program. When the City Council established the Council on Aging in 1974 via Resolution Number 87-124, they tasked the council to 1, identify the problems and needs of senior citizens, 2, develop and recommend solutions to the City Council, and 3, administer and support programs that benefit seniors. Our bylaws state that the purpose of the Simi Valley Council on Aging, or COA, shall be to advise the city on all matters dealing with senior quality of life, including areas such as nutrition. The Meals on Wheels program is an essential and integral cornerstone of nutrition services and support, serving the needs of vulnerable, homebound Simi Valley seniors. On Friday, August 16th, 2024, and on Wednesday, August 28th, 3 Council on Aging Executive Board members, Pete Stong, Jeannie Mortensen, and Janet Plant, met with Anna Medina, Simi Valley Community Services Manager and liaison between the Simi Valley City Council and the Simi Valley Council on Aging. The purpose of these urgent meetings was to discuss the Meals on Wheels program, which has experienced a significant and precipitous service level decline since April 1st, 2024. In April, Ventura County informed the city and the Simi Valley Senior Center that the federal and state grant funds that Ventura County receives for the congregate meals and the Meals on Wheels programs would be cut by 25% at the beginning of the 2024-25 fiscal year on July 1st. To prepare for this funding cut, senior center staff stopped accepting additional clients to the Meals on Wheels program with the plan to reduce the number of clients served through attrition. On April 1st, 2024, the number of Meals on Wheels clients served was approximately 180. As of the end of August, this number has declined to only 135, with approximately 80 homebound and in-need individuals currently on the waiting list to receive meal services. That list, staff has projected that to maintain the current levels of service for congregate meals and Meals on Wheels, the funding shortfall for the 2024-25 fiscal year will be approximately $237,000. It is the understanding of the COA that the city is considering to approve the funding for this shortfall. While this proposed amount of money to supplement the congregate meals and the Meals on Wheels programs is considerable, there is still great concern that this amount does not provide the necessary funds to restore Meals on Wheels to its previous level. It is estimated that an additional $100,000 would be needed this fiscal year to minimally restore Meals on Wheels to the service level that existed as of April 1st, 2024. Current plans are to continue to reduce the number of Meals on Wheels participants through attrition without adding any new participants. Thus, the waiting list that is currently at 80 will likely be double that, 160 by the end of the fiscal year. Therefore, the COA expresses its grave concern regarding the proposed plans for the 2024-25 fiscal year to address the funding shortfall for the Nutrition Services Program. In particular, the COA disagrees with plans to continue to reduce the number of seniors served by Meals on Wheels and to not address the growing number of seniors who are on the waiting list but who are not being added to the program. The Council on Aging is willing to partner with the city and the community to find both immediate and long-term solutions to this urgent crisis with Meals on Wheels so that the needs of the most vulnerable seniors in our midst are met. We request that the City Council take the necessary actions to restore Meals on Wheels to service levels that existed as of April 1st, 2024. Thank you. And I'm going to submit these. I don't know if you guys got copies.
Pete Stong.
Mayor Davis and council, thank you for the opportunity to speak. I'm going to talk mostly, my name is Pete Stong, and not going to talk as a member of the COA Executive Board, but as a concerned citizen. And I'm really going to be talking about the future after 2024, 25, what happens with this program. First of all, I question the coordination in the county between the dietitian and the funding. And I'm not seeing from the information I have that there's that coordination. There's no flexibility given to the cities with the menus. There's really no flexibility on the vendors that the cities can use. And I'll give you an example. Giordano's, if you've heard of Giordano's, they're probably one of the most, if not the most expensive vendor for groceries available. In my career, I have experience in this area. I kind of question the county's bidding process. Second, the funding of $50K that was mentioned by Jeannie, the reason that didn't happen is the staff could not commit to using any of that to bring people from the waiting list as we have attrition. So that's the reason it didn't go any farther. Regarding fundraisers and fundraising, I think the city should develop a definitive avenue, publicize that on how donations to Meals on Wheels can be received, used, and how those donations could be tax deductible. I think if that was set up, that donations would come quickly. Now, cities in Ventura County as a group, in my opinion, need to go to the county supervisors at a minimum at the next contracting cycle so that nutrition programs can be better organized and that there's better cost management and menu design. In other words, more vendor options and menu flexibility, that equals lower possibility of lowering costs. My last comment has to do with the waiting list. It's my understanding that even though we're at 135 today, as attrition happens, that no clients will be added from the waiting list. And I think that's a mistake. And that was from city staff also. So I've shortened my comments to, wow, just to 3 minutes, I made it. But if you have any questions, like I said, I do have some experience in managing operations of facilities that have the same issues that are here. Thank you.
John Lapper.
Wow, my concerns seem trivial to when I hear that people are being denied Meals on Wheels. Wow, very disappointing. Mayor Thomas, City Council, City Manager, and City Attorney. You all have my public statement about the sad condition of Royal Avenue east of Cordo Street, my happiness in seeing the yellow borders around traffic signals at major intersections finally, and my inquiry into the long-delayed Simi Valley Police Department motorcycles authorized for purchase over a year ago. However, now something very near and dear to me has come up, again, which has never been addressed by you. We know it's National Suicide Prevention Month. One big cause of suicides is social media. We have two Facebook pages called Simi Valley Community Forum, No Rules, Simi Strong, and Simi Valley Schools Forum, both administered by TJ McInturf and moderated by Justin Bell. No matter what your friendships with both of these individuals, it is important to be aware that they continue to approve toxic, inflammatory posts by an anonymous person. The admins and moderators see who the person is. Last week, they approved a post in the Simi Valley Schools Forum alleging a substitute teacher at a Simi Valley high school told her students that she was a lesbian. I'll not go into specifics, but there was no substantiation to this malicious post. Another Facebook group administered by Jennifer Jones is Simi Valley No Rules Local Politics and Candidates Forum, which is moderated by Ventura County Republican Party Secretary and now candidate for community college trustee Joe Pachowski. There have been several distortions about other candidates to which I civilly engage in a conversation. According to admin Jennifer Jones, Joe Pachowski has now deleted several of my comments and for the third day in a row suspended my account without justification. Joe Pachowski is certainly not someone that should be a moderator on a political forum while a candidate for college trustee. As he cannot handle opposing viewpoints and his abuse of censorship is certainly contrary to our First Amendment rights under the U.S. Constitution, he'll not get my vote. I only bring this to this audience because you all know the players, and in the interest of ending the divisiveness and exclusion of Democrats' voice in Simi Valley, you can talk to these individuals, especially TJ McInturf and Justin Bell, who allow inflammatory posts by anonymous players who create hate in our community through rumors and misinformation. Good leaders bring people together, not divide them. You'll have this opportunity Friday at the Republican Forum at the VFW Museum. I've been giving out Harris for President signs the last 4 weeks, and it's pretty sad when a Simi resident says, I'm afraid to put out a Harris for President sign. Thank you very much.
Ari Voth.
Hello. Thank you for having me available to speak. What I am here to do is to express my concerns about the Meals on Wheels programs. My understanding is that the Council on Aging has offered money, but the city hasn't accepted and provided that things are going to be put in place that all these meals will be provided to our seniors. I personally have been affected by the fact, that we still have 80 people on our wait list. As of yesterday, it's one less. I had a friend who has been on the wait list for 3 months and was not available to have these meals provided for her. There is a need, and I've been a resident in Simi Valley for 60 years, and I know that we stand behind our seniors, but I don't feel that's happening right now. I would very much like that the proposal for the funds and the fundraising from the Council on Aging be accepted, and that the city be prepared to commit to providing these funds. I'm just here as a concerned citizen. I was at the last meeting and I didn't know all of the prices and everything like that, but I think that it's doable. I really do. So, thank you.
Carol Martin.
Thank you, Mayor and Council, for letting us give our peace of mind here. I am a member of the Council on Aging. In addition, I'm speaking as the Simi Valley volunteer coordinator. We do all we can at the senior center by using our wonderful seniors and helping us out so we can get them driving the cars, get the food to our members who so well deserve the food. And we can't do that. We are faced with people coming to us going, I have no way of getting food. These deliveries, once a day, Monday through Friday, provide a nutritional meal and may, in many instances, we know, provide the only food that they're getting. You cannot, in all good conscience, not support the needs of these people. They represent a significant number of your constituents that are in need. And we will fulfill what we need to fulfill. We will do what we need to do to keep it happening. But we need your help. You've heard the help we need, and I press upon you to think hard. Thank you.
Ed Mazika.
Mayor Thomas, council members, my name is Ed. It's actually Mazeka. That's okay. I hear a lot worse, so that's fine. And I'm here, first of all, I'm a Meals on Wheels driver. I've been a driver for about 12 years. So I'm going to give a few facts about the program, but then I'm going to go in a very different direction. I hope you'll bear with me with that. First of all, I'm here to ask for your support, your continued support for our Meals on Wheels program. I saw on the agenda that there's a proposal for an additional, if I have this right, 267,000 support, financial support. So if I have that correct, thank you very much. I would also, I realize that costs have gone up. I remember seeing that an average meal cost about $2.50, and now I just saw on the agenda that it's $9. So that's been a big jump. And after hearing Mr. Stong speak, maybe there's a way to change the way that the VC AAA handles the nutritional aspect of the program. I know there's very strict criteria, but I'm sure that there's other ways we can meet the minimum requirements for what we, the protein, the fruit, vegetables, milk, et cetera. Currently, there are, as we've heard, 85 members on our wait list. And again, I'm asking that, I'm hopeful that we can find funds to start adding some of those to our regular program. All recipients on our program, as you know, are homebound. They're 60 or older, and I want you to understand you know what homebound means, but homebound for many of the seniors means they can't get out on their own. They're stuck in their home, and that creates additional needs and difficulties. Some of our recipients have additional needs that are not nutritional. Now that's, as a Meals on Wheels driver, we try to accommodate all our seniors when we deliver, but what I would like to do in my remaining time is introduce you to 4 of our recipients. So Mr. G, when I deliver a meal to him, he's pretty self-sufficient in terms of just wanting the meal. Thank you very much. Put it on the counter. Thank you. And that's the extent of our interaction. I have another Miss B1 who lives in a private residence, seems to be very satisfied with our program, and has a son who lives in the immediate neighborhood who frequently is there when I'm delivering meals. Her nutritional needs are, again, very pronounced, but other needs are, I'm not aware of, social needs and such. She seems pretty content. But that leads me to Mr. M. Mr. M was homeless many years ago, and I know that because I actually served meals at the Samaritan Center, and I remembered him. And then about 1.5 years ago, I saw him on my route. Mr. M, good to see you, and I'm happy that you're here. But Mr. M is an example of a senior who lives alone. He doesn't get much social contact. I know that when I deliver a meal to him, he tells me I'm about the only person he may see for that day, certainly, and for the week, it's just the other Meals on Wheels drivers. Now, we have most of our seniors, it's the nutritional needs that is most essential. But I just want to give an extreme little example of what can happen during a delivery. So last week, I was delivering my weekly meal to him, and I noticed by a chair, a rug was folded up, and there was a table leg on top of it. This was a major trip and fall. He's on a walker. He's very feeble. So fortunately, I noticed it. So I asked him, of course, Mr. M, do you mind if I move the table and straighten out the rug? And of course, he said yes. So, you just never know what kind of situation you're going to encounter. Lastly, I'd like to, first,
You kind of need to wrap it up.
yeah, I will. That's why I have my notes. I'd go on forever. I have one more, and then I'll be done. Mrs. B2 is an 85-year-old senior who has extreme Parkinson's. She has great difficulty. She lives alone. Her nearest relative is in San Diego, who does visit frequently. So I just want to point out again that some of our seniors are in extreme need. Lastly, if you'd like to actually have an adventure, I'd invite you to ride along with me sometime when I'm delivering my meals. It might be just a way to help you gain more insight into our program. And again, I thank you for your support and your time. Thanks.
Mr. Mayor, that was the last speaker. Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council, next on the agenda is item 4A, City Council comments regarding public statements.
Mayor Pro Tem Rhodes.
I'm first up. Thank you, everyone that came out to speak today, and some really interesting concerns. And since we have a short agenda, it's nice to get to have time to hear these other things. Ms. Nuker, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing it right, Mark, e-bikes, I also know that there has been recent laws on what is an e-bike allowable on the street and what is allowable, well, not allowable on sidewalks. I would be interested in hearing any strategy from our PD on how they are actively addressing this, or are they passively addressing it. And so it doesn't have to be a now, I'd love to hear back on that. I'm going to save Council on Aging for the end. Okay. John, thank you for your submission of the letter ahead of time. And as I'm sure you know, we have our schedule of street maintenance, and it's not unnoticed that street is in disrepair, but others are in more, and it will be gotten to. And in terms of social media, not sure, Council, what the role of the city plays in monitoring social media activity in town, but I don't think we do.
Yeah, I don't think we do unless, I apologize, unless it's an official city website that we can actually control and moderate. Otherwise, we don't really have any ability to step
Excellent.
in.
And moderator content is not the only hostile content causing social issues and mental issues out there. So those that post should also probably be very cognizant and careful of their posts. And then Council on Aging. Yes, we're going to have a topic on the agenda. I know it's going to get pulled for discussion, and I think that many of your concerns are going to be talked about, addressed, thought through. In a very quick nutshell, I see this as an important social problem with a math problem solution. And if the money's drying up somewhere and the costs are too high, maybe we need to find it somewhere else where the costs are lower. And it's a math problem, and we have now and through our budgeting cycle to try and figure out what the solution to that long-term problem is, not disregarding the short-term. Those are all my comments, Mr. Mayor.
Councilmember Litster.
Thank you, Mayor. And I will just address quickly in order of that statements were made. Mr. Michael Shaw, who I believe left. It is true, there are lots of areas, sidewalks, et cetera, that need to be attended to. And my query is, please, if you are aware of one in your neighborhood, please let us know about it and let's get to it. And maybe we should look at the area specifically, the stretch that he's identified, and take a look at that specifically. I believe it was both sides of LA Avenue between First and Erringer, I think.
And the Texas Tract, and Public Works Director Fuchiwaki said that his team will go out and address that this week.
Excellent, thank you. Appreciate that response. Mr. Harriet, thank you for telling us about the opportunity to come pick up free waste buckets. What's that? Kitchen bins, whatever we call them. They're cute little things that you put on your counter and you put your stuff in. So please come get one. That's great. And as far as, and I wanted to address Mr. Luker's comments about the e-biking and the sidewalks, et cetera. And as a bicyclist who tries to stay on the road and sometimes goes to the sidewalk when I'm too scared, I understand those concerns, and I'm just on a normal bike. I do think it would be appropriate that we maybe look at codifying exactly maybe what can or cannot be on sidewalks and what level of, I know that the police, and I appreciate that, have talked about the different bicycles, e-bike versus et cetera, but I think we need more education and maybe codifying something there.
There is state code related to e-bikes and what is permitted and what is not permitted. And the police department has been doing outreach in the community to educate. And unfortunately, there's, while they've been doing a great job of doing that, I think that, not everyone gets that message. But there is state law that actually.
Well, and I understand we have our own code specific to what we allow on our sidewalks that maybe, is that not accurate?
Chief, do you want to address?
I'm sorry. I think that we are more, which is fine. I just want to make sure that we're complying and being wise.
Yes, there's already a vehicle code that covers the e-bikes. If you've been watching the social media we've been putting out
And it's
over
great.
the
It's been
last
very
couple of
good.
months, we've talked about what's allowable, when you have to have a license, and the officers have been doing enforcement. In fact, certain e-bikes are as fast as motorcycles, and we've been seizing them. I understand it's hard for residents because every time an officer's taking enforcement action, they're not going to be at the time and space when that's going on. I don't see any reason for creating, and actually there's a legal issue to try to create some legislation that supplants the vehicle code that already covers those types of bicycles. I'd be happy to have staff come back maybe next meeting and give an overview on an informational basis of what we're doing and talk about the amount of citations and education. But the bottom line is certainly we have some adults that are being reckless on the e-bikes and e-scooters or whatnot, but it's the other bigger issue is parents allowing their kids to ride those bicycles, like I said, that are as fast as real motorcycles. We've had several kids hit because they're not obeying traffic laws, and quite frankly, they're not at the cognitive level where they should be operating that kind of vehicle on the road or on the sidewalk.
Understood. Thank you, Chief. And I think it would be good maybe to have a presentation so that we can bring it to bigger forefront. I realize my time of comment is coming to an end. I do, thank you, Mr. Lapper, for your comments. I do want to, I am very sympathetic to all those, through the Council on Aging, all of those your comments, and in fact, we've had, I know, Samantha, our city manager, and I've had several comments, and I've even reached out to our county as well, our board supervisor representative, because obviously there's a discussion of where the funding's coming from, et cetera, but I believe that there will be a good discussion about what we can and should be providing. I do think personally that it is critical that we maintain the levels, and I personally feel that if there's a waiting list, we need to do all that we can to move them into the program and to determine where the greatest need is. So that's just my personal commentary. But we understand that that there's a lot of moving parts, and yes, it is a consent item, but I know that it is going to be pulled, and so please stick around. We'll be part of a fun discussion maybe about what we are going to do and what we can do and what maybe we should look forward in the future. So thank you again for being here, and appreciate the official, Jeannie, who is the treasurer of CA. Appreciate your reading the official position of the COA. Thank you.
Councilmember Judge?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I don't want to rehash everything that's been said. Thank you all for coming out and speaking. The problem with the sidewalk on LA Avenue was brought to my attention last week, a couple weeks ago. I can't exactly remember when. And immediately I brought it to the attention of the city manager, who brought it attention to Public Works. Again, if you see any kind of sidewalk problem in the city or any road problem in the city, contact Public Works through their website, through the city's website, and get it noticed. Once we're made aware of it, we will come out and fix it. It might not happen the next day, but it does get fixed. Also, the Meals on Wheels program was brought to my attention a month ago or so, and talked about it at the last Council on Aging meeting, and like Rocky said, it's not so much a problem, it's more of a money problem, really, as a math problem, money problem, same thing. We'll figure out a way to keep it where we can keep it. I mean, the city doesn't have unlimited funds, and these funds were coming from the county. I don't know how those funds, or why they were decreased. We haven't been told exactly why yet, so hopefully that will be addressed, 'cause I'm sure that's going to be pulled. And again, thank you all for coming out.
All right, I'll make a couple of comments then. Regarding the sidewalks, it's been a pet peeve of mine since before I was elected. And so we constantly have regular conversations about that, and we really have been trying to stay on top of it. There are a lot of sidewalks, just like there's a lot of roads in the city. And so we really are trying to do our best. I mean, it is a lot of work. But I can tell you that it will never get fixed if somebody doesn't actually report it, then it goes on the schedule. It doesn't just happen. Now, because we're already so overwhelmed, we're not out looking for more work. Pedestrian safety, yeah, I agree with that. I guess I don't really have any comments on that. Regarding the motorcycles, I'm curious about that myself. It sounded like they are in, but they're being held up because of radios. Maybe that's because we're switching our radio system to a new system. Chief, no? Okay.
So the motorcycles are in. They're down at the BMW dealer in Long Beach, which is where they're going to be, where the vendor is that obviously we utilize for the cooperative purchase agreement. They're waiting for some equipment for the radar system, which is essential to what motors do. There's supply chain issues that are going on throughout various different areas, like you're aware. So we're not only struggling with supply issues in that area, we're having issues with radio equipment, we're having issues with vehicles that we've ordered, and we're not the only agency in the region that's having that same issue. On the good note is that before this program was approved, we were down to one motor officer. We had 3 motorcycles, 2 were operational, 1 was considered a practice bike. We got a second motor officer fully certified. He's been out riding with the original motor officer for several months, and we recently selected 2 additional motor officers. They have already successfully completed the San Diego County Sheriff's Motor School. They're just waiting for the new bikes to come, and then they'll each get individualized 3 weeks of what they call motor training with the training officer, and then they'll be off on their own. So my expectation is that we'll have our full deployment of motors out before the end of November. The other thing to consider is that this is the first time in a long time due to staffing shortages that we have 10 people assigned to the Traffic Bureau. And so things are looking positive.
Good. Yep. We definitely need to get out there because I still see speeding. Meals on Wheels program, I know we're going to find a solution. We're going to certainly work hard to do that. I believe that we have some additional work to do to try to get it as funded as we possibly can. But we will be back at the next meeting on that issue. Oh.
The consent calendar.
It was being tabled. No. Oh, okay. All right, well, no. So it's on the consent agenda, so we're going to actually address that tonight. And I guess that's it.
Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council, next on the agenda is item 7, the consent calendar, and there are no resolutions for your consideration this evening.
So Mayor, do you want to know which items we would like to pull from the consent calendar? So yes, I would like
I
item.
was thinking I forgot one thing I wanted to talk
Oh,
about.
do you want to
but
tell them?
I'm
Go
not
ahead. Go
gonna-
back to what you want to tell them back. You can reverse
No,
that.
that's okay.
Okay.
What would you like to?
Okay, yes, item 4, which discusses the Meals on Wheels, but I'd also like to pull item 1, which is our minutes of June 24, 2024. So those two items, 1 and 4.
Okay.
I'll move approval of items 2 and 3 on the consent calendar.
And 5.
And 5.
And 5.
Second.
Call for a vote?
The motion passes unanimously.
Elaine? Councilmember Litster, please proceed.
Thank you. So I assume we want to take it in numerical order with item 1. Is that what you'd like me to discuss? Okay. So first of all, thank you. The minutes are fine, are good, but I guess here's my question. Our minutes have become are basically a record of how we voted, but the discussion of any questions asked or any reasons for voting such are deleted or not included. Let me put it that way. In years past, they were sometimes discussed, and I guess my question is whether or not they could possibly be inserted. And let me give you reasons why, or I would make that argument. First of all, whenever we get planning commission reports, let's say an item, I always go to read the planning commission reports, and I very much appreciate the discussion, which is recorded. It's not just their vote, but the questions that they asked and the answers that were received from planning department. And so that helps guide my discussion and my thought process. And so I know it's included. Now, you might make the case, well, at this point, we're the final say, so it doesn't matter. You might make that. But I believe historically, when someone goes back and reads 5 years later, okay, this person voted no, this person yes, sometimes it's good to have context. For instance, in the minutes of that June 24th, 2024, which is the one that's in question, I pulled a couple of consent items, and that was the one where I was the dissenting vote on the building of the building on Erringer. And so if someone 5 years from now looks at it, would read it, would say, well, it would appear that that Councilmember Litster is opposed to building that building. And it was a little more new, and yet she was crazy. She still approved giving the land away. That's what it would look like. But if maybe there was some discussion, it would say, well, she asked about this, et cetera, however you want to put it, but it maybe would say that she didn't think the design was necessarily appropriate for given what was in the neighborhood, and there was at least questions that were asked, and she had concerns about height, and so that's why she voted no. But she wasn't opposed to the building. Does that make sense? And so if a little of that could be the questions asked and responses given, or maybe statements made, a little of that, I think historically it'll give context. For instance, and I'll give one more and I'll be done, and then we can decide whether this is even something that can be done. I had pulled item in the consent, basically what I want, page 12 of those minutes. If you look at them, I want to be very accurate. For instance, it says, okay, Elaine pulled these two items, and then we voted yes for everything. That's basically how the report reads. But there's no discussion of why I would have pulled those points. And in consent item 4 was authorization to initiate recruitment to fill 2 at-will positions in the city manager's office. I pulled that at the time to basically say, to commend, I wanted to say basically those positions have been created because I wanted to commend Linda Swan for her efforts. It might have been nice to at least have that as why she pulled it. Wanted to commend her and that she and maybe offer my services, which you didn't need. You have great people that did it, so I want to be clear. But at least there would be context to why maybe something's pulled. So I don't know if it's possible.
If I can respond to that.
Please, I'll stop talking. So that's all my thoughts.
So the city council minutes are action minutes, which is why it's just a record of the action taken. In years past, a number of years ago, we did have more of the dialogue portion included, but it really became somewhat up to whoever was taking the minutes' discretion of what was included, as opposed to the action minutes, which is just really a record of the meeting and what happened at that meeting, as opposed to all of those other items.
And I understand that and would say that's okay, except what you do list is everyone that comes forward for 3 minutes, and we mention what they talked, what their concerns were. So which is great. I love it that you put so-and-so was concerned about XYZ. So-and-so wanted this, so-and-so wanted this. So it is, these minutes do contain people's concerns, people's worries. So know that we have that. I think it might be nice to contain ours as well.
A question on that. Is the video portion considered minutes?
I don't know that they would be considered minutes.
Yeah, I don't think they would be considered minutes, but they are a record of everything that happened during the council meeting.
Okay.
And the other thing I'd like to add is one of the reasons that we started going to the action minutes was in an effort to expedite getting the minutes on the agenda quicker.
And I do appreciate that and understand that. I know that it made a lot more. And so I'm really, and I know that this, Lucy, I'm sorry. This
No,
is,
there was a resolution adopted, I think was it in the 80s, changing them to action minutes from verbatim.
so are the planning meetings not action minutes?
Right.
I understand.
I don't know that we have a resolution on file for the planning commission, the types of minutes that they, yeah.
Okay.
We have a resolution on file that says that these are action minutes.
Okay. Well, so what I'm hearing is that there's no way we could have any commentary about why we voted in our minutes.
If there's, if
What would
there's
it take,
desire for the
if there was
council to change
desire,
that,
it would have to take a
resolution.
a
of the city
resolution to
council
do that. Okay. And that's the only way our thoughts get put in unless we save it for when we talk in 9B, then maybe it would be creep in. I mean,
I mean, in 9B is really I'm sorry, 9B, 10B is typically going to be your report of where you were and all of that.
No,
and
I
then
agreed,
your-
and
your future agenda requests, so, yeah.
okay. Okay. There have been just some instances where I just think it's contextually, it would be nice to have that in the minutes. But I'm not looking for more work, Lucy, or Angelica. I'm really, and you're thinking, oh, what is she? Stop it, Elaine. We're finally getting the minutes done. I know what you're thinking. And I'm grateful for them. But and so what I'm hearing is that no, we can never have any commentary of why we voted unless I make a motion for resolution.
Well, and if that is the desire of the city council, then that is something that we can bring back to the city council for discussion. There is a record on, as the city attorney mentioned, people who want to see what the whole dialogue was that got to the certain point are able to watch that on the city council or on the city website as well as on YouTube.
And help me understand historically, because I think it's important, those taped minutes or taped experience, when did we start doing that, and how are they're in perpetuity? In other words, if I want to see something 10 years ago, can I go back and see it, and they're all archived and accessible completely to the public?
I think we went back as far as, I want to say at least 2000, 2006.
And we have all of that archived. Okay.
And I was going to offer up that when I was making my run and wanted to research back things, and since we have waste management here, I actually went back all the way to the original contracts and even pulled videos.
And you watched those videos.
Not the original one. That was when they had microfiche and things. But yes, I watched all. And so to get the context, that's as much context as you can get.
Oh, and agreed. Okay, and I guess in my mind, I wasn't aware that they were that accessible. So if they are, then I remove my concerns. So you're off the hook, Lucy. Thank you. I can move. So let me move item 1 for passage, please, unless someone else wants to talk about it. I move item 1 that we approve the minutes from that meeting.
Second.
Call for a vote.
The motion passes unanimously.
All right, now, would you like to talk about the other one?
Well, and I would be happy to, but I know others had questions or commentary. I don't think I was the only one that wanted to pull that. Yeah. But so if you want to hear from someone else before you hear from me, that's fine too.
Well, and then staff is actually prepared with a presentation. If you would like to hear that first, knowing that this item's been pulled and.
I think so. I think that would be most appropriate.
Okay.
Yes.
Ms. Medina?
Good evening, Mayor Thomas and members of the City Council. In January 2005, the Simi Valley City Council adopted Resolution number 2005-5, to enter into a contract with the Ventura County Area Agency on Aging to operate congregate and Meals on Wheels nutrition programs. Since then, the city has managed the program with grant funds covering operating expenses, including staff and non-food supplies, and VC AAA has paid for all food costs. Recently, the County of Ventura was reorganized so that the Ventura County Human Services Agency would oversee VC AAA. In April 2024, VCHSA informed the city that funding for the senior nutrition program would be reduced for fiscal year 2024-25. In fiscal year 2023-24, the city received $269,994 in grant funds for the nutrition program, allowing the city to serve 71,824 meals at an average cost of $3.75 per meal. For fiscal year 24-25, grant funds were reduced to $261,750 for operating expenses, with a food budget of an equal amount of $261,750,000 managed by the county. The cost per meal has nearly tripled to approximately $9. At an average cost of $9 per meal, with the grant funding available, the city can only serve 29,083 meals annually. As contractually obligated, the city may only order supplies and meals from any of the county procured vendors at the agreed upon price of the county's contract with each vendor. Furthermore, all menus, meals, and recipes must be reviewed and approved by a VC AAA registered dietitian. As a result, the city's ability to find more cost-effective meals to serve more clients is restricted and limited. Since being notified of the reduction in grant funding, the city has not removed any participants from the Meals on Wheels program. However, as people have left the program, no new clients have been added. Additional actions include discontinuing the grab-and-go option for congregate meals and extra weekend and holiday meals for Meals on Wheels clients. As a result of these changes, the Meals on Wheels program has been reduced to 135 meals per day, down from 173 meals per day in May 2024. There are currently 85 clients on the Meals on Wheels wait list. To sustain the current levels of 235 meals, 135 Meals on Wheels, and 100 congregate, the city would require $528,750 in total funding. This represents a $267,000 shortfall. Should service levels be restored to those in May 2024, which is 273 meals per day, the funding deficit would increase to $352,500 if food costs remain stable. Staff continues to explore innovative ways to maximize grant funds by finding cost-effective ways to reduce the price per meal while still complying with grant-mandated dietary guidelines. Recognizing the need for long-term sustainability, staff will explore and present solutions to the City Council via the upcoming budget process. While this subsidy addresses immediate concerns, a comprehensive program strategy that can adapt to the evolving community needs while ensuring fiscal responsibility is necessary. This concludes the report, and staff is available to answer any questions at this time.
Councilmember Kavanaugh.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Ms. Medina, do you know, are there other cities that also do the Meals on Wheels?
Yes.
Is it the majority of cities, do we know? Or off the top of your head, I'm sorry. It's okay if you don't know for sure.
Oh, it was turned off. Wait a minute, where's the, I do have a slide on that.
Okay, so we have Oxnard, Fillmore, Moore Park, Ojai, Port Hueneme, Camarillo, and Ventura, so almost the majority of the county. So if they're tripling the price, there's got to be something wrong here for all these cities. And is there a way for us to get together with all these cities and go to the county and work something out? I know costs have gone up, but triple is a bit much.
Well, there's a couple reasons that the funding has decreased. So the primary funding is from the Older Americans Act, and that has decreased, and that's federally funded.
Okay.
The other issue is, during COVID, there was a number of different funds that were coming in to also support Meals on Wheels funding, so and congregate meal funding. So there was a lot of additional funds that were coming in to support these programs. Now that we're seeing, a decrease, it's kind of a perfect storm. We're seeing a decrease in funding availability. We're seeing funds completely go away that were available during COVID, and then you're seeing the prices go up. Our other challenges, in addition to the prices going up, is that, as Ms. Medina mentioned, the cities and the participants are required to utilize the county vendors. We're required to ensure that we're using the county meal schedules and all of that. Now, we do have some flexibility where our dietitian that works at the senior center, as long as they're meeting the same dietary restrictions, they have a little bit of flexibility there, but for the most part, we're looking at a different meal every day of the month, which also increases your costs. So there's a number of different issues that are affecting this. One of the concerns that staff has, obviously no one wants a senior to go hungry. And so that is a huge priority for our staff to identify other options to increase how we can look at this from a holistic perspective. Now, from the county-wide perspective, I don't know that our staff has explored coming together with all of these other cities and program providers yet to determine if there's a way that we can kind of go in mass on that. However, we are still under contract with the county to utilize their vendors and to fulfill their requirements. And if we're not under contract with the county, then we're losing the funding entirely from the county. So then we'd be looking at essentially doubling what our contribution would need to be.
Thank you, Ms. Argabright. So that makes a lot of sense all the way across the board. Is this something that staff can handle on their own, or do we need to form an ad hoc committee to maybe reach out to these other communities and see what they can do? I mean, what's your opinion in regards to this?
I mean, certainly if the council desires to form an ad hoc committee, we can do that. I think, staff has been very engaged in this and recognizes that this has been a significant issue. We were initially notified of this in April. We weren't sure exactly what the shortfall was going to be at that time, and so the item is before you now because we have a much better idea of where we are. However, I don't anticipate that this is going to be the number going forward. It very well could increase again next year. So as these things continue to evolve, we wanted to come forward and at least make sure that we were funding where we were to make sure that our seniors continue to have meals. If I could, I'd like to address the Council on Aging's concern because we had reached out to the Council on Aging and asked if they would be willing to support helping us kind of fulfill these gaps. And staff, they did receive the proposal to go back to the levels that we were in April. And staff did decline that offer, and the reason for that is not knowing where we were going to be in the future. It potentially could create an even larger deficit going forward, as well as the concern that we may have to actually cut people from the program as opposed to just not adding new people to the program. So if the council's desire is to work with the Council on Aging and bring us back up to those levels in April, we can certainly do that. But staff, from a conservative perspective, was concerned that it would essentially just create a bigger deficit and then have potentially create the need to actually remove people from the program, which we didn't want to do.
Right, they're being fiscally responsible, which I appreciate, in a lot of ways. So maybe this is something we give staff a little bit more time because it is something that we're going to need to address on a permanent basis.
Yeah.
So I'll wait and see what other comments other council members have. So thanks.
Councilmember Lidster.
Thank you, Mayor. So, and thank you, Ms. Medina. Appreciate the presentation and sharing that so we can discuss this more with more knowledge. The increase in cost that went from $3.25 to, or $3.50, $3.25, isn't it, to $9, 240% increase, is certainly much, much, much higher than the inflation rate. I mean, yes, the inflation's been going up, but it's much higher. When was that $9 a meal contract or cost, when did we have to start meeting that price?
It was for fiscal year 24, 25.
So it was just this year that we've had to suddenly deal with almost tripling the amount, the actual cost. And if I'm understanding correctly, we are obligated to pay that price for each person served. Is that
For
correct?
we have to utilize the vendors under the county contract, and if that is the cost of the meal per the county contract, then that's what we're obligated to
And so
pay.
this is a new contract that the county, this contract that the county has, and I realize you're not the county, this new contract that the county has negotiated, what is the terms of that contract? Do we know, is this something that has step increases or is it going to be renegotiated in a year? What do we know about that actual contract?
We really have not gotten a lot of information from the county. We received the information for fiscal year 2024-25 after we had already submitted our budget here for the city. So that was in April. And we have asked a lot of questions of the county, of which we have not received answers. I think they're still working on that. So we are at a loss at this point as to whether increases will occur for the next fiscal year or any information as to whether we can reduce our meals in other ways. We have basically depended on the county to respond, so we're waiting on that.
So, and let me,
Can I add something really quick?
please.
So the county wasn't available to join us this evening. We can certainly invite them for a future meeting and give a presentation if that is the desire of the city council.
Well, and I think there's just a desire to understand how, on my part, to understand how contractually, what the obligation is for us as a city and whether if there's any fluidity in that. And let me try to understand as well. This also relates to the congregant meal, which is prepared and served here. And so, in other words, someone can't come and take a sack lunch and leave, if I understand what that means. Is that also, do we also pay $9 per person for that? For those meal preparations is that part of this calculation or is that totally different? I'm trying to understand how that is saving money in this area. Is that part of the $9 a meal?
I'll have to ask Angel to come forward.
Angel Sierra is now the assistant to the city manager, but he was formerly the manager of the senior center, so he has a lot of expertise
A lot
in
of
this
knowledge.
area.
To answer your question, yeah, that $9 per meal is actually attributed to all meals served. So the way that the funding is actually distributed, it's based on a numbered, meals served. So that $261,000 that we're receiving, once we exhaust $261,000, divided by $9 per meal, anything beyond that is what we would have to incur. So yeah, whether it's congregate or Meals on Wheels, it's a whole amount.
And right now, the congregate, it can be free to anyone that comes, but also they are invited to make a donation, if I'm not mistaken. That's currently $5 a meal?
No, that's gone up as well.
Really?
So yeah, that's gone up to about $8 per person.
So
Suggested
their
donation.
suggested donation is now at $8 per, ouch. Okay.
Correct. But we don't see anywhere near that number.
Oh, I know you don't. I know that, because it's based on ability and et cetera, et cetera. Okay.
Right. And in the past, we weren't seeing what that food cost was. So the county would completely manage the food costs. We would just make our order and, we would serve meals based on need. As Samantha has actually mentioned, during COVID, that number went up considerably. And so we saw an increase in service that subsided since then, but hasn't subsided to the numbers pre-pandemic. So, the funding reduction has now or created an issue that is just no longer sustainable.
Okay, I appreciate that, and maybe stay there, just because you might be part of some of the. So I'm concerned about, I understand where, natural attrition, et cetera, but I also understand if there are 85 people on the waiting list, there are 85 people that are desiring and needing meals. And maybe I'm taking this personal because I just went through this process in Idaho for my parents, and I just know the process there. And you don't make that request lightly. So of these 85 people. So is there a method whereby these, let's say we decide, okay, we can maybe come up with 25 more, if we were to do that, is it first come, first serve? Are they vetted in such a way that you know where the greatest need is on the waiting list?
Yeah, there is a formula created by the County of Ventura to identify greatest need. Every single individual that's put on the program goes through an assessment to determine what the need is. It could certainly be done in that fashion, and where that, those with the highest rating of need, get priority. Our Meals on Wheels coordinator goes out and does assessments in the homes and trying to assess because there are criteria. So individuals that have assistance, despite the fact that they're homebound, may be ineligible for that program. So if they have a family member that goes to the home on a daily basis, that theoretically could disqualify them from the program. So we've already considered doing a complete assessment, a reassessment of everybody on the actual program to determine whether or not they truly are eligible. But
You mean a reassessment, I'm sorry, of those currently receiving, or are we talking the waiting list? Or
both.
Both. Interesting, okay. And the 85 on the waiting list, they have already been vetted in a
Correct.
sense. So they are legitimate. We know that there is absolute need there.
That's correct.
Okay. Okay. One of the things I might add too, that part of this conversation, I know I just had a brief conversation with Janice Parvin's representative, Mike Court, who's our community liaison, et cetera. I know, I believe that maybe one of the conversations should be to involve our county board of supervisors in this discussion. And I know that this was new. I know that Janice was not really aware of this conversation. And so I just throw that out there as part of the discussion, that maybe there can be bigger conversations in terms of what can be done to be assistant to work on this.
If I could just add too.
Please.
So currently with the 85 clients on the wait list and the 135 that we're currently serving, based on the capacity of what our staff can do and what our kitchen has the availability to do, we would not be able to accommodate all of the 85 clients on the wait list just from a capacity standpoint. So when we were at the 173, 180-ish range, that was really where we were with capacity. So I just want to ensure that the council is aware that, depending upon, funding and what the council decides to do, we would not be able to accommodate all 85 clients on the wait list, even if that was the desire, which, realistically, that's, I'm sure, is the desire. But from a capacity standpoint, our kitchen just can't accommodate it, and we just expanded our kitchen recently.
And I also want to commend, if I'm not mistaken, the city of Simi Valley does have the largest already program, Meals on Wheels program in the county. Is that accurate?
That is correct.
That's correct.
And so I just want to say kudos and thank you to all of those who are part of it, and to all the eds out there that drive and make this work, because I know it takes, and Carol, thank you for all your coordinating. It just takes an army to make this all happen. I just want to be really clear that we recognize that. And so, anyway, so this is a real quandary and something that I think need to really examine and do all that we can. That's it for my questions, but certainly I'm in support of, right now, transferring the funds from the general fund right now that we can to keep it where it's at. But I would like to see us do more somehow. but maybe wait to see what the county conversation has and see whether there's other pots or other resources, because I do think we need to look at, I just keep holding the stay and letting natural attrition is not, I don't think the responsible thing.
Well, and staff is committed to continuing to explore additional opportunities for funding and determining how we can serve as many seniors as possible. And really, the item before you tonight is really just to fill that kind of stopgap.
So this is not the final say, is what you're
No.
saying? This is just to keep it going at this moment?
Just for this fiscal year, yeah.
Mayor Pro Tem Rhodes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, Councilwoman Litster, for teeing up this thing. Before we have any conversation, Council on Aging, thank you for all that you do. We are partners in this, and as I said, I think this is a math problem, and there are things that we can figure out. I think we have two problems to solve. We got to put our finger in the dam for this year and see what we're going to do. And tonight is a stepping stone towards that solution of getting some additional backfill funding to move the program up. That doesn't necessarily mean that that's our last move. It's a long way between here and June. And then maybe the larger question and problem is the moving forward discussion. And there's a council full of really smart business people up here. And when I looked at the sort of a single source and a single point of failure with one nutritionist dictating things that have to happen, and I look at all of the different players and volunteer hours and capability of doing this, the $9 number boggles the mind that that's the case. And so the first level of math was, hey, what if we did it ourselves? Okay, that means we get the independence to do it ourselves and be responsible people and lower the price, but we don't get that chunk of funding, so it could end up costing us more. Math problem, we got to figure that out. The other thing that we could do is really start to analyze who the players are and see what as Councilwoman Kavanaugh said, what are other cities, and you get building some economies of scale and just take it over. The other thing is we have great service clubs in the organization. What if we found one that said, hey, you know what, we'll take that on, and we start funding our own service clubs to do this organization. I think there are a number of different ways to go at this solution. And since we've got this long budgeting process between now and the next fiscal year, let's put our finger in the dam. Let's shore this thing up so that people aren't going hungry, and then and really dig in and look. And if it takes an ad hoc committee to do that, then absolutely. But I think that we've got to just start crumple up what was before and say, if we were doing this ourselves as Simi Valley, how would we do it better? And then, in conjunction with the county, go, this is what can you do better than that? We can work it both ways until we get the best solution. So I would encourage us to formalize a working group. Either it could just be staff. I know you guys are already on this and doing a great job, but I think that there's some private sector expertise that could come to bear on this as well. So I offer that up, I think, from council. If an ad hoc would be useful, I would certainly vote for that. And I think that's the gist of my comments. But just to end with what I started with, Council on Aging, we are in this fight with you, and it might be a slow-moving boat, but we're going to figure it out.
Councilmember Judge.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. There is no fast fix to this. The problem we're not addressing, in my opinion, right now is the county. The county is the one that dropped this on us. It's the county's fault. They need to come up with answers on what they can do to remedy this situation or give us options to get out. Because I've been told that if we pull out of the vendor that is supplying the food right now, he has said, or the vendor has said, he or she, I'm not sure, has said that they will stop providing to the other entities in the county. That's a threat. We can't deal with that. Something else has to be done. The city cannot afford to go through this program on its own, period. We don't have the funds to do it. So we're gonna have to find some way to make it work. And if that means not having to be able to put people on the list, then we have to look at that. And it doesn't mean we have a lack of empathy up here for the program or the program's providers, the people that are getting this service. It is a money problem, period, plain and simple. We don't have a way to fix that right now. But I do think we need to have the county come forward. And I'm not talking about our county supervisor, because like I understand, she was not aware of this problem because the county people that are in charge of this program have not made a lot of the politicians aware of this problem. So those people need to be held accountable. Remember, a lot of those people are the same people that said it was okay to lock down churches and everything else during COVID. So that's who we're dealing with. Understand that. The city is very sorry that this is happening. We're going to try and fix it as best we can. We've got the stopgap measure, like Rocky was saying, finger in the dike until we get it done for this fiscal year. After that, we need answers from our county. Thanks.
I'll wrap this up with a quick comment. I believe we have 5 council members, a city manager, staff, all in agreement that we need to find a solution, and we are going to work hard to do it. That's it.
I'd move approval of the consent calendar number 4.
Second.
Call for a vote.
Councilmember Litzler?
I'm sorry, I didn't lock it.
The motion passes unanimously. Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council, next on the agenda is item 10A, City Council Member Reports.
Councilmember Litzler.
Thank you, Mayor. Let me share some of the activities that I'd want you to be aware of. I appreciate this time. Let me start with Friday, September the 13th, where I attended the Southern California Government Advisory Panel meeting, which somehow I found myself on SCE's Government Advisory Panel. And so, it's been interesting. And so this was a meeting that was held virtually, and they had several presenters from corporate SCE to try to share what they're doing to help make our lives better, et cetera. But actually, it was a little more alarming to me, and so I'm going to share just one of the things I learned in that meeting. Basically, David Lowry was the speaker who is the principal manager of SCE's Ready Grid Group, which basically makes sure that that development has a place, is being prioritized for their infrastructure. He's also the head of their portfolio management team. But one of the things he talked about is what they call their Dr. PEP tool, DRPEP, which basically stands for Distribution Resources Plan External Portal. So basically this map, which is accessible for all cities to use, they can go on and they can basically see where there is load capabilities, where basically we can have lots of electrical access and where we don't have as much access, which in theory and concept is actually a very good thing. The problem is I'm looking at it very small on my on their presentation, it looked like Simi Valley was all red. And so I asked him about it, and he said, well, it's true, some areas have less load capacity. So when I looked after the meeting more closely at the Dr. PEP tool and how it applies to Simi Valley, basically, I would say half of our city is in red and half of our city is in yellow, meaning half of it is kind of maxed out on the load and half of it may have a little capacity. The problem is the half that is maxed out, that is red, is where we have slated all of our development, which is down the corridor, the industrial corridor, which is where Easy Street and out that area where all the new industrials coming online, including waste managements, et cetera. And I know they've been fighting to get electrical use. Anyway, so that was very concerning to me that basically they were saying, tell your planners so they know to plan accordingly based on load. And I thought there's a huge disconnect. Basically, they're saying, we don't have capacity for you. anyway, I know that, that city manager is on top of it and is going to have further conversations, meetings with them, because basically that map has to change. That was my takeaway, is that you're telling me that we don't have resources, and we're going to tell you that you better get some infrastructure for us, because that's not, I get it from a big global perspective, but you can't tell a city, sorry, you no longer have power capacity. So anyway, that was my Friday meeting. On September 17th, Tuesday, I attended Moore Park College Foundation had an evening with Mike Madrid, who is basically an expert in voting trends, et cetera. And he was specifically speaking to about the Latino voting bloc and what the trends are in their voting. And I found it very informative, very interesting. Basically, one of the things he mentioned, and in fact, afterwards, he basically said that both political parties are missing this voting bloc and what their needs are. And so afterwards, I went up to him and said, "Okay, you said we're missing it. So what is it? What are we missing? I want, what as a little city official, what can I be doing that better represents the Latino voting bloc?" And what he shared, which I thought was interesting, he didn't share in his meeting, but basically he said that 20% of Hispanic men work in the construction industry in some capacity, that 20% of the Latino Hispanic in general. And I thought that was, which is a huge number. And so he opined that anything that helps support housing issues and building housing, et cetera, would absolutely resonate with the Latino voting bloc. So anyway, I just thought I should share that. That was a very interesting meeting. I noticed that Mike Madrid is also speaking at the Reagan Library in a couple of weeks. And so I was kind of curious to go to that to see if he basically represented the same message in different settings. So, but anyway, it was a very interesting evening. Wednesday, September 18th, I attended the VCOG's Broadband Subcommittee, which I'm a member of. And basically, it's becoming a major thrust of VCOG to be supportive of the broadband for the entire county and make sure that there is broadband access to everyone, everywhere. It's been determined that there doesn't need to be another JPA set up, a Joint Power Alliance with the consortium and VCOG, et cetera. However, it is going to become one of their tenets I think more strongly, that they are going to take on this conversation and help administer it. And what that looks like when the consortium backs away may mean more involvement with all the city managers, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, obviously, it's a big topic. But anyway, that was the subcommittee meeting I attended. I also attended the Simi Valley Arts Commission meeting, and I want to commend Mayor Pro Tem Rocky Rhodes, who attended from Beijing, Shanghai. I'm sorry, I've got to get the correct city, but he was there at 6 a.m. attending that meeting. Basically, we had a presentation about Moore Park's master art plan, which was very interesting. And this is what theirs looks like. It's lovely, beautiful. The discussion of the committees that they'd like to have an art plan or master art plan for our city as well. And so there was a discussion about what that RFP looks like and how it could be done. It was such a big topic, it was decided to schedule a special meeting so there can be more conversation about that RFP so that they get it right and the ask is appropriate. And then it will come before the council to decide whether we want to support that endeavor. So that was, anyway, the meeting that took place. And also, I should say, lots of great events coming up. So just want you to know that there are lots of great things at the Simi Valley Simi Valley Cultural Arts Center. Wonderful events, so I won't mention them. But yes, I was going to mention also this Saturday is that Hispanic Heritage Festival. So just a reminder that was presented earlier. It should be a lovely, wonderful event. Thursday, September 19th. Thank you, Mike, for attending my VCOG meeting. That was a different meeting. Sorry, Mike, that was last week. You did that before that. Thank you. You'll get there. Actually, I attended the executive meeting and planning meeting, but also I attended the Simi Valley Education Foundation's Teacher of the Month, where we presented Nicole Cameron who is with Knowles Elementary with Teacher of the Month, and commend her for her efforts. Also that evening was the Seroptimus Amazing Little Black Dress, where they raise funds for all their wonderful activities and events. thank you, Mayor Thomas, for being very instrumental in the whole creation of that whole thing from the very beginning. But it was a lovely evening, and so want to commend the Soroptimists for their efforts in our community and appreciate that. On Friday, September 20th, the Youth Council had their rock painting event. I was not able to attend, but sent my granddaughter and daughter, and they said it was fabulous. On Saturday, September 21st, a couple things that I attended that were, I think, I wanted to mention. It was the International Day of Peace, and there was a gathering held at Lemon Park for a peace walk. What I thought was interesting is that Simi Valley is designated an official city of, has that designation as supporting international of peace. What I appreciated is that this event is completely non-political, doesn't speak to any party, is completely an interfaith event. It's not about anything about any specifically going on. Simply it says it is an ideal that is desired. But I wanted to thank the Interfaith Council for their efforts, the International Day of Peace Group for their efforts, the Rotarian, the Sunrise Rotarians who provided free breakfast, also Santa Susana's High School, Abbey Rhodes, who entertained and sang. It was fabulous, their contribution as well. So it was a lovely event Saturday morning. In the afternoon, I also stopped in at the Apricot Festival, which was held over at Strathern Park, and what a lovely day. I saw women actually spinning with their spinning. I learned it can be done. It's still done. You could have Sleeping Beauty when she pricked her finger. Women still do it, and it's fabulous to see. Fabulous to see. Actually the whole day was lovely there, and the many vendors that were there, and there was square dancers and apricots and all sorts of fun things going on. So anyway, I want to commend our Santa Susana Parks and Recreation for their efforts of putting that event together. And I think actually that is it for my report of Simi Valley in 2 weeks. So thank you.
Councilmember Kavanaugh.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mine is nowhere near that long.
Sorry.
So the weeks of September 10th through the 12th, I was out of town on business. So I got to visit Fresno, Hanford, and Visalia. So it's very interesting. I went past the Adventist Health Hospital in Hanford, and the Elks Lodge is right around the corner too. So at least I saw those two things. But it was nice to meet some of the employees up there. I'm becoming a flag football grandma on the weekends. So that's been keeping me busy on the Saturdays. It's a lot of fun watching those little guys though. September 19th on Thursday, I also attended the Little Black Dress. The music was great. We had our own Justin Hahn singer there. So thank you, Justin, for performing. That was always a good time to see you. Soroptimist does do a great job, thanks to the mayor's late wife, Debbie, in starting that here. It's become one of the best Soroptimist clubs around. And it's always a good cause in supporting women and girls. And I love all their events when we get to see the people that the funds really go towards. It really makes it even more heartwarming. At the festival on the 28th, so this coming Saturday, the Hispanic Festival, one of the directors at the EDC is actually one of the Folklorio dancers. So I'm really looking forward to seeing Alondra dance. I told her I would be there. So that is a great event. Everyone should really enjoy that. So thank you to the Cultural Arts Foundation for putting that on. And then lastly, today I had the pleasure of speaking at the best, #1 high school in the Valley, Royal High School. I had to say that. Mike's shaking his head next to me, but I had to get there. The Royal High School has a relationship with the Reagan Library, and they also do an international baccalaureate program for their students. And one of their civic things that they do is they have brown bag lunches. I think all of us or most of us have spoken at one or more, and it's great to see the kids. I had the pleasure of taking our city attorney with me today. So Al got to go with me, and I kept telling him I'm nervous. I can talk to a room full of adults, but put kids in front of me, and I get really nervous. But it turned out really well. And we had a great time, and Al's going to probably be signing up to go to speak to them too. He's got some better stories to tell. So, but it was really fun. I just gave a little bit of background on what we do and why we do it. And then I asked them, my favorite question is, what do you guys want to see up at the mall? And so it was nice. Got some feedback from the kids. It got them really actually thinking about it, that type of a thing. So I enjoyed it, and Mr. Dennett and Mr. Downey do a great job inviting all of us, and it's a pleasure to teach or to talk to our students at that age. So that's it for me, Mr. Mayor.
Councilmember Judge.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. On Thursday, September 12th, I did attend the VCOG meeting as the alternate for Councilmember Lister. It was an interesting meeting. It was on the CSUCI campus. Very interesting library they have there. The topics were ranging mostly about bills that they did not want the governor to sign or they wanted the governor to veto. So it was, that was basically what the meeting was about. But we did have a presentation by our registrar of voters explaining a couple things in depth. One of them was the price for putting your ballot statement in. If you want to be candidate for any office in the county, you have to pay to put a ballot statement on the sample ballot. And this year, the cost has gone up exorbitantly. Oh, funny, another thing from the county where the price has gone up. But anyways, she did explain the theory behind why it went up, although it wasn't a very good, really good answer in my opinion. A couple of members there were interested to learn that not everybody that applies and runs for office is ethical. I thought that was kind of funny. But anyways, I digress. Moving on to Thursday, September 19th, I attended the Mobility 21 Summit over at in Anaheim at the Disneyland Hotel. Why they have it at the Disneyland Hotel, I have no idea, but it is a very nice place. And we talked about a lot of things coming up in California, VMT, which is vehicle miles traveled, and replacing your normal registration for your vehicle. There's a couple other topics that were brought up. Basically, we're dealing with electrification, how electrification is not meeting the technological standards, so it's not going to be able to meet the mandate. So hopefully, good thing about Simi Valley is we didn't get locked into any of the big electric buses, because apparently everybody that's bought those is sad that they did. So, good thing that Simi Valley did not bite on that worm. That took me through Friday. On September 21st, I attended the Bingo Bonanza, came out here to the Senior Center and saw a packed house. Bingo Bonanza was sold out. It's a good job for the Council on Aging putting that on. It raises a lot of money for them, and all the people there had a great time. And thank you to the Elks Lodge for coming out and being the bingo pros and running the bingo forum. And that's the end of my report.
Mayor Pro Tem Rhodes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. My report will be extremely brief. In Chinese. September 11th, there was a gathering at the Boys and Girls Club for a special moment that I attended. On Thursday, September 12th, armed with information from our Public Works, I attended the Bridle Path HOA meeting to discuss the roads and sidewalks and decisions made on why do we need truncated domes on a bridle path where horses walk. And apparently it's because in case the horse is blind. But that's what I. I was grateful to have all of the information and to be able to bring that to the HOA. The next morning on the 13th, I flew to Shanghai for work, and as Councilwoman Litster mentioned, at 6:30 in the morning, their time is 3:30 in the afternoon here, and I was able to attend the Arts Commission meeting, which I was grateful to do. The presentation from Moorpark was outstanding and insightful, and the proposed RFP that was we didn't end up voting on was well thought out and well prepared, and we were just short on time. We've decided that we're going to have a special meeting to dig in and make sure that we put that RFP out correctly so that we get good responses. And then, I was in China. The morning I woke up this morning, I headed for the airport and I commuted directly to here, and it only took 23 hours to get from my hotel to here. And yes, these are the same clothes. I'd like to adjourn.
What you're saying is Monday, September 23rd has lasted about 40 hours for you.
Exactly right. That's the end of my report.
All right. Wednesday, September 11th, I had a meeting with our auditor. It's an annual meeting that happens prior to the beginning of our audit of our financials. Thursday, September 12th. I was invited to LA Business Journal function. It was honoring the 200, what they selected as the 200 most influential people in the region. And I was one of them. You know, me and the mayor of LA. So I guess we're right even. She makes more money. Let's see here. Thursday, September 19th, attended the little black dress, and I will simply say that, you know, it's something that brings me great pride to see how that organization has thrived over the years and the amazing things they do, and I always do everything I can to possibly support them. I had a really interesting invitation for Saturday, the 21st. One of our local churches invited me to come in and be interviewed at the beginning of their service because they were beginning their 5-week series on politics and religion. And it will directly addresses one of the comments earlier about social media. And basically this, you know, they interviewed me about my perception on some of this stuff. And it had to do with, how, you know, we talk about being a city of peace, but that's not the case when it's about discussing politics. And I think that's something that our politicians have created in this country. And their message was pretty much that, you know, everybody should be able to make their own decisions, choose, you know, and be respected for that and respect that of others, and why it's become such a hot topic that even a family can get together and end up having words over a conversation like that, and it just shouldn't be that way. So a lot of examples and stuff, but I thought it was like really on point, and somehow or another we need to find a way to get there. And that is the end of my report. So, let's see here. Lucy?
10B, do we have any future agenda items?
Oh, I see. Okay. All right. At this point, I'm going to call for any future agenda items.
This is not a future agenda item, but it is something I just wanted to bring up because I've had several questions about it and observed it, and it maybe needs to be an agenda item. But I'm sure you've all driven through LA and Erringer and noticed that that major intersection by a railroad has not been working for almost 10 days now. And that's one of our major, biggest intersections in the city. And I know when I've spoke with our city manager, Samantha's been very clear to tell me initially we had to order parts, and now we've got extra parts to fix it. Still, and I drove through it today after someone complained, again, just to see how long it would take. It wasn't as bad as they represented, but it takes a while depending on which direction. But I thought maybe it'd be nice if Samantha, could you address what is happening there? Because I just think we all need to know about it.
Yeah, no problem. So yes, we're approaching week 2 here about LA and Erringer, that it has been on red flash. We do have the parts. The new box, the controller box, has been installed. Just as a refresher, the box was actually taken out due to a car accident. So we had to get a replacement box, and we were able to obtain that. That was installed. The current holdup is actually we're waiting for Metrolink to come in and synchronize their equipment for the rail crossing arms with our traffic signals. So as it stands right now, it's a 4-way, it's supposed to be treated as a 4-way stop. So if drivers could be patient and ensure that they're observing that, that would be very helpful. And be observant of the rail crossings as they come. Now, we don't want to energize the signal not having that synced with the rail arms. if our signals are telling people that they can go when the rail crossing is happening, so, or there's a train crossing. So we are still working with Metrolink to try to get someone out as soon as possible. We have had some challenges, so we've escalated it to the executive levels of Metrolink as well as the Ventura County Transportation Commission to see if there's anything that they can do to help us get that expedited. Because obviously this is a very well-traveled intersection in our community and affects a number of people. And so it is definitely on our radar. And we were anticipating that it would be re-energized to normal function by this past Saturday. And unfortunately, that did not happen.
Well, as a side comment, I will let you know that City Attorney Al Ford and I went through there today, and our PD was working right on it. Somebody didn't follow the rules, and they got pulled over. It was really kind of cool to see them at work. So thank you, Chief.
Nice work. And if I can can I add something else? So just as a matter of course with the traffic signals in general, we are finding that we do have aging equipment. And so there have been kind of a number of frequent outages throughout the community, and Public Works is addressing that. For example, Madera and Viewline Drive has been intermittently on red flash. They'll repair it and then it will go back. It needs a new controller box as well, so we're securing that so we can get that replaced. Thompson and Royal went out. Our contractor is troubleshooting that for full repairs. Right now it is currently functional though. And we did have another traffic accident that had impacted Tapo Street in Cochrane about a week and a half ago as well. Ironically, it took down a pole, which was easier to fix than the controller box. So that was actually returned to functionality very quickly. So, you know, if I could just encourage the community to you know, slow down, be patient, and we are working to address these as soon as possible. Staff is diligently working hard and takes pride in ensuring that we're able to provide good services to our community.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, I just, back on a previous topic, do we need to have an agenda item to create an ad hoc committee? Should that be the choice, or what would be the best path forward on that?
If the council desires to have an ad hoc committee to work on the Council on Aging, Meals on Wheels, or work with the Council on Aging on the Meals on Wheels issue, we certainly can do that. Otherwise, staff is, like I said earlier, diligently working to come up with solutions for that, which we can present to the council during the budget process, or we can provide updates intermittently between now and then.
I think that I would like that. I don't know if we need to make an ad hoc committee now, but I would think that we would want updates, and then if desired, be able to jump in and help.
Okay, I was going to suggest that we at least agendize at the next meeting an update, you know, on anything new that we've determined. And then at that point, maybe decide if it's something we want to move forward on. Okay?
I'll second that.
Okay. We can also work with the county to have a presentation by VCAAA and maybe answer some questions.
That'd be great.
Okay.
That will also give our county supervisor time to possibly look into it too.
Right, do we need to?
Okay.
Just the second, no call? Okay. All right. Okay, so with that, I am going to adjourn this meeting in memory of Barney Court, the father of a very close friend of ours, Mike Court. Very sorry, Mike. Thank you, everybody. See you next time.